Hello and welcome to another video from the only channel you need to not only survive the current apocalypse, but actually enjoy. And today we're going to be testing my tent. The one we're going to be testing today is a Coleman Insta tent, 14 foot by 10 foot Insta tent. Now this is one of those bargain buys I got. If you can see, it says Salvage on it, and when I saw it sitting on the floor, it wasn't set up. A little bit nervous about getting it because I couldn't tell if everything was there. I knew there were no tent pegs and no rope, and I could see that a couple of screws were missing, and one of the legs was broken and the other legs were disassembled. But I messed with it for about 15 minutes before I made the purchase, and it looked like all of the pieces were there, and I had a feeling that since it was a Coleman product, I could replace the leg that was broke. So I purchased it, and it was about 50 bucks. Maybe a little bit more than that. It was 75% off when I bought it, and the price on here is about 250 bucks with tax. So what is that? I guess about 60 bucks. In any case, I dragged all the pieces out to my car and I got them home, and I didn't initially set it up because even on the way home I was thinking, you know, there's probably 5 or 6 of these outlets for this particular salvage store. Maybe it would be a good idea to go somewhere and see if they had another $60 tent at one of the other outlets and purchase it for parts. I'd still only have 120 bucks in it. So we did that because I didn't want to take a chance of somebody going up and buying the only other one that existed and then finding out I couldn't get the parts. And in fact, when I got home, I checked, and even though they still make these tents, they had discontinued making them with the metal legs. The legs are made out of fiberglass, and they had very specific note on the Coleman website that these fiberglass legs will not work with the older metal leg tents. So I knew I was in a little bit of trouble. Well, anyways, I found another one at another outlet, and it was only it was 90% off, so I got it for about 25 bucks. And I brought them both home and got all the best pieces and made one tent. Then I got all the worst pieces and straightened them the best I could, and actually got another perfectly good tent. Now, neither one of the tents I bought had ever actually been used. I think they were both damaged in delivery and simply sent back to the factory and sold to the salvage outlet. But in any case, we're going to put this up, and I'm going to spend about 30 days using it just to make sure that everything's okay. I've already set it up once, so I know that it's a full tent and it's pretty sturdy. But this is not the kind of tent that you're going to find if you go up Mount Everest with your buddies, because this is like a 3-season tent or 2-season tent, something like that. And the guys that go up and do all these radical things and in terrible weather use what's called a 4-season tent. They're very expensive. It's like $1,000 for a decent tent, and I don't have that. In fact, I didn't even have money for this, which is why I bought it at a salvage store for 75% off. Alright, here's the actual tent, which is pretty big, and if you notice where I'm going to set it up, there aren't very many spots that are big enough to accommodate it. So what I did was I got what's called my footprint, which is nothing more than a Harbor Freight tarp, and I just walked it around until I found a spot that looked like it would accommodate the entire tent. And this is about it. Now, the footprint's about a foot short on either side and 6 inches short front to back. So I've kind of taken that into consideration while laying it out, and just to make sure that we're not going to tear up my footprint or my tent, I've got a bale of hay, which is about $6, and I'm going to put that down on the ground just to make sure that we have a little bit of cushion under there. We've got the footprint laid out about where we want it, so we're going to put straw under this footprint, and I'm going to mark the edges with the tent pegs just so I got a good reference as to where to throw my straw. Okay, I think that's the tent sitting in front of the footprint. I think I have it oriented the way I want to set it up, but I'm not really sure. This may turn into some kind of comedy. It's really advised. I didn't get any instructions with this, but I have set it up, and I set it up in the wind, and there were two of us at the time, and we were in a lawn, and it was very difficult because the wind kept wanting to break everything. And if you notice, it's kind of windy today, but we are in a densely wooded area. So even though you'll see leaves blowing by every now and then, for the most part the wind is above the tree line. So let's see if one person can do this. The next thing we're going to be installing on this tent is a rain fly. Now Coleman advertises this tent as not needing a rain fly, and if you take a good look at the way it's designed, you can see that it's pretty much put together in a way that would shed water, but I'm suspect of anything that I can carry under my arm keeping me and 6 other people dry. So I thought it was just a good idea to purchase this as an extra bit of protection. And in fact, I've got a couple of pretty big tarps, and it may be that during the day when I'm not using the tent, I'll throw a tarp over it just to keep leaves from falling on it, to keep ultraviolet radiation down, whatever kind of damage the elements can hurl at this, simply because this is my tent. It costs a lot of money. But we'll be putting this on now. Okay, well now we've got the tent up and we've got the rain fly installed. Nothing left to do but tie it down. Part of the cost of this project was having to buy the line to extend the lines that came with the tent out to stable objects and to tent pegs. This line was about $10, but I didn't really purchase it for this. I purchased it by accident. It's something for one of my nets I was making, but it's non-bonded, which means that it doesn't hold together very well. The bonding agent that they put in string is what keeps it from unraveling. When you cut it, well, this stuff here, if you cut it, it unravels pretty bad. And so whenever you cut it, the first thing you need to do is melt the ends. Otherwise, when you go back to get your spool again, you're just going to have a tangled mess. We're just going to do that with a lighter. You can get one of them to catch on fire, and you got it made. When it's windy, you really can't do this. You're going to have to go in the tent and zip the windows shut. But as soon as you can get a little bubble started, that's it. That's all she wrote. It's going to be together. I ain't coming apart. And do not let this drip on your hand, because it will really hurt you. Alright, now we'll go ahead and tie our tent off. You get the tent, it has some guy lines hooked to it, and I think this is kind of standard for the industry now. These guy lines have got a little adjuster. I don't even know what you call it, but it's basically just a piece of plastic with 3 holes in it, and it allows you to add slack or take up slack. Now, when it's under tension, it won't go anywhere, and this kind of boggled my mind at first until I got the whole thing set up and I realized I wanted to adjust it. Well, this thing ain't moving when it's under tension, but the simple thing is just to take the tension out. Just pull it away from the tent. You can go any way you want with it. You can make it tighter, you make it looser. Simple. Now that we have the tent set up, all we got to do is sit back and relax. Now, the video may seem rather short, but it actually took me about an hour and a half to put this thing all together. There are videos on YouTube of people putting these things up in a whole lot less time, but they're only popping the tent up. In fact, there's one out there of 2 guys throwing this thing up in about 30 seconds. And, you know, you can do that. And even if it only takes you 10 minutes, that's still pretty quick. But you can't just pop it up and leave it. You're going to have to anchor it down. I put a lot of time into cutting ropes and melting the ends of the ropes and getting them all tensioned just right. I put down straw, I put down a footprint, and I put a rain fly on. That's a lot of extra stuff. But just know that if you're going to go camping, it's going to take some work to set up your camp. I don't recommend anybody going camping for a day, because it'll take you about a day to get ready, and then it's when you're done setting everything up, it's time to pack. But I'm going to be out here for 30 days in this tent, and if I like it enough, I may not ever go back into the house. I've been sleeping on the porch for about 10 or 15 years. I enjoy being outdoors at night, and this seems a whole lot nicer because I'm not just outdoors on one side. I'm outdoors all the way around. So we'll just see. I've got 2 of these. Even if I leave it set up and it rots away in 5 years, hopefully I'll be able to accumulate enough spare change in 5 years to buy another one. But in the video, you may have noticed that after I had everything halfway set up, I was really stretching to open those final rafters. And when I first posted this video, a friend of mine named Fletcher says, "Wouldn't it be easier to open the rafters up first, then extend your legs?" And I thought, you may have something there. Of course, I didn't get the instructions, but being a man, that's really not an excuse, because even when we have instructions, we don't read them. But it probably says very specifically to open all of the rafter legs out first, then stand the tent up. So as you're watching the video, you notice me stretching really a long way to open that one rafter in the front. Just know at 6'4", that was difficult. If I'd have been 6'3", I might not have been able to do it. You need to, if you're getting one of these things, open all your rafters up first, then open the legs.